why somebody is going to want to have it, and why that somebody could be you.
Not you.
Neck is it could be you, but yeah.
This neck right here.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. It's got some cool features. So, did you know that Don from Australia, specifically Adelaide, Australia, is hanging out with us tonight?
I did not know that.
Well, he is
now.
And Daryl, and we haven't talked to Daryl for a while, and Sir David Dangerous, and Jay, and Terry, and Loring, and Gary. It's starting to rhyme. Dan Andradis is here. Dylan Talks Tone, Butch, Mike Beckloff, Joey Dano Guitars, Lefty O. Let's see. Well, Chris, I think it's just about time to get this show.
Well, let's do it
on the road. How are you, sir?
I'm good.
Hi, Bob Potter. Yeah. What have you been up to today?
I've been working on guitars that need to be finished up.
And therefore, will there be a reveal tomorrow?
I don't know.
Inquiring minds named Dan.
I don't know.
Do you think there should be, or is it?
I think we could, if you want to, show off those two that I almost got done today.
Or are we spilling the beans on those?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll find out.
So, okay. So it is very likely
All I will say, because Bob Potter's here, his guitar will not be one of them.
Okay. Sorry, Bob.
It'll be early next week.
Pickup, or what? Yeah. What is just a little hold up?
I don't know what the hang up. Well, I do know what the hang up is, but I don't know what the hang up is. Okay. So they're all ready to go. We got pickups last week.
We had some issues with,
but we didn't get all the pickups.
Yeah,
for some reason, for whatever reason.
And then we had one that had a damaged piece, and there's nothing you can do about that. You know, I mean,
but anyway, so, those guitars are so close.
Michael's was damaged, the pickup.
Yes.
Thing or
Mike Durbin's,
yeah, Mike Durbin's, yeah. So things happen, guys, and we're doing.
I'm trying.
Yeah, I
really am. And then we had classes for the last 2 weeks.
Oh, and we took some time off.
We took a little time off. Yeah, we took Monday and Tuesday off. Mm-hmm. Odyssey Beer Works, Great American Beer Works, had their 12th anniversary party was this weekend. So went and did that on Saturday, and then had to recoup from that.
And I was actually out of town until Tuesday.
Yeah.
So
I took Monday and Tuesday off. And got some stuff done and recuperated, and then promptly forgot that it was already Wednesday yesterday.
Well, it kind of feels like we're doing this live stream a little early too.
Yeah, but I'm getting back into it.
Speaking of live streams, I don't know if you've noticed this, but we haven't had any Sunday videos lately.
Yes, I have noticed that.
And the only reason for that is because we had so much work that had to get done.
Because Matt hasn't made any.
Well,
we were so busy.
Well, there's that. And then so we had the SG workshops, which I think were a huge success. Mm-hmm. And I think you think that too, because you said as much.
Yep.
And then I left town. I went back to Illinois. And for a wedding, that was lovely.
Where'd you eat?
Yeah, well, I did manage to go to one of my favorite pizza and beef sandwich places, and I got a pizza and a beef sandwich. So that was fun. And but the SG workshop took a lot out of us. There was a lot going on, and stacking one like immediately right after the other makes things exponentially more difficult, because you don't have any time in between to okay, let's take a week to clean the shop and we'll collect all the stuff. And if we need to do any more we had to do all the advanced work had to be done before the first class started.
Mm-hmm. So there were 12 or 13 projects ready to go by the beginning of the first class.
Yes.
Luckily, Brian Duncan was here to clean the shop.
That's right. Brian did a great job
during that first week and during the second week, because we were so busy there wasn't even time to get the attendees to clean this time. Sometimes there is. This time there wasn't. So so we had to be ready for the second group of guys to come in, right after the first group of guys left.
Yeah.
So
long story, somewhat shorter. There will be a Sunday video this week. I have no idea what it's going to be on, but I think I have an idea, and it's going to be for my good friend Dan Andreas, who sent us a super chat and says, ad free, that dreaded Brian made him do it. Thank you so much, Dan. And thank you, Brian, too. So while we're on the subject of workshops, Chris, I sent out a mailer. Did you guys all get the email that I sent out yesterday? First of all,
I did. A guy named Clint got it.
Okay. First of all, the guitar. Oh, can you move your body or move the guitar? The guitar in the email got sold almost immediately. And it is the one that we built along with the second workshop. And it's this Pelham Blue SG style guitar, and that one will be picked up tomorrow. Its new owner is picking it up, and it's actually a buddy of ours that we've known for a long time.
We haven't seen in quite a while, but we still know him. And he bought it, and so that's good for him. Now, the other thing, it is good for him. Yeah, it's 50-50 for us, whatever.
The other thing that I talked about in that email was this neck. And I want somebody to make a guitar with this neck. Dastardly Dave sent a super chat and says, ad free is cool. Nice, Brian. So anyway, I want somebody to come here and make a guitar with this neck. Now, this is a neck that I got from Steve. I didn't mean to buy it, but I kind of did. I'm working on a project with Joy, and we needed a neck. And this one, so I called Steve, and I'm like, hey man, I need a neck right away. Do you have anything laying around? And so he had this one. Now this is a maple, regular. That's actually a quarter sawn maple neck with a fretboard that is actually. I'm gonna see if I can get it in the old camera here, but the fretboard it's not one piece, but it looks like it's one piece. So what Steve does is he cuts the fretboard off and then glues it back on. So it looks.
3 routes for the truss rod.
That's right. Speaking of the truss rod, it is a rear wheel adjust truss rod, and it's set into the neck so that you don't have to modify your body at all, which is cool.
Yeah. So 21 frets. No. Although if you're making a body, it's not a big deal to put that in, but you don't have to. Yep.
It also has a skunk stripe. If you're into that like aesthetic of the old school
the skunk stripe
stuff.
Yep.
And it's drilled for Godot vintage style tuners, with Godot or Kluson or whatever.
Yep.
And it doesn't have any frets because what I want someone to do is I want somebody to come to the workshop and do this, use this as, I want somebody to come in June and build a guitar with this neck. Now, the reason I want somebody to come in June and do that is because we have some openings for the June workshop, but I can't get any necks before the workshop. So I have one neck. So if you're like, man, I really want to come to the June workshop, but I waited too long. Matt doesn't have time to get any of my stuff. I have one spot left, provided you want to use this neck, or provided you're cool with using this neck. Now, Chris, what could you build in the June workshop using this neck?
You could build a Stratocaster. You could build a Telecaster with a Stratocaster heel. You could build some sort of jazz mastery shaped thing. You could build almost any Fender style guitar in a 25.5-inch scale.
Yeah, you could modify this headstock. You could leave it as is.
Yep.
You could do lots of neat stuff with this. Now, there is a discount code. I can't remember what the discount code is because it actually came off of a $20 bill. Like, sometimes you ever use that, you ever like say, I'm going to use this is going to be the coupon code.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be like whatever the dollar that I have in my pocket serial number is, or that's my that's my Netflix login or whatever. So that, but I don't remember. It's not like Matt 123 or TTG 123 Matt rules or something. But it's for a substantial amount off the class. That's what I can tell you. If you got the email, you already have the code. It's a lot off the class. It's a bunch actually. And if you want to do it, you can use that code and you can get, provided you don't mind using this neck. This is a hell of a neck. Okay. And you can come out and you can make pretty much anything you want. You can make a telly with the other guys who are making tellies, and you can make a strat, whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
You can make something nice. But use that code and save a buttload. If you can't find the email and you want to do it, and you can't find your email, so you don't know what the code is, call me and I'll tell you the code. Don't call me now, but you know what I mean? Send me an email and I'll send you the code. Okay. So, all right. So that's that guy. And I have been, you know what I've been doing, Chris, besides answering emails and running around like a email chicken with my email head cut off?
No.
Yes, you do. 5-ply binding. That's kind of my new thing.
It's been your thing before.
I know, but it is my thing.
It's your new thing.
It's my new thing.
Favorite thing.
It's a pretty neat thing, that's for sure. And you guys are going to see some 5-ply binding coming up in the next month or so on the completed guitar. Let's see what Driddle says that he was here. He says, listening as I work on the woman's chicken coop. All right. Well, cool.
We talked about the chicken coop.
I wasn't here for that.
He says I think that he said he has close to $3,000 in his chicken coop.
Nice coop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and they're getting a dozen chickens pretty soon.
Cool. With all the money you're going to save on eggs, Devin,
we talked all about chicken math.
You can come out and take one of our classes.
They're pets. They're pets.
Oh, are they? Okay. Well,
I mean, they'll still get eggs, but
Devin, I'm sorry I missed you, and come back to a class and build a neck using this, or build a guitar using this neck.
They're not doing it so they can save money on eggs. No. They're doing it because they want chickens.
Okay, that's cool too.
That's a reason to have chickens.
Sure. So Chris, I've been getting a lot of emails lately.
It's a lot like kids. You're not doing it because you want to save money on kids.
No.
We'll just make our own. Why buy them at the store?
Well, if you make them, then they're yours. You own them. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, put them to work.
All right, let's move on to the topic at hand, Chris.
Okay, I'm ready.
Hi, Joy. How are you? Devin, again, I'm sorry that I missed you, man. But I was out of town. So, all right. So the topic today is, when is your custom guitar just too custom? Now, I've been getting a lot of emails lately. And some of this stuff I want to clarify to some people who are like, well, shouldn't I be able to ask for anything I want? And the answer is yes, you should be able to ask for anything you want. But sometimes, well, for one thing, if you ask for something that's kind of over the top, be prepared for your guitar builder to say, I don't know how that's going to work. Or I don't do that, or it would be better if you went to this other place instead. So let me give you an example of one, and I'm not trying to call anybody out here and make them feel something, but I'm just using it as an example.
Just so something like bad.
I'm not trying to make anybody. I'm not trying to smack talk anybody here. I'm just using it as an example. So I got an email from a nice guy who said, I would like to have. Can you make me a neck? Now, normally I don't do a lot of neck stuff. Like we make guitars, and it's very rare for me to just make somebody just a neck or just a body.
Yeah.
Every so often we'll do it, but it's not something we do all the time. So this young man asked if he could get a neck. He wants to reproduce a Troublemaker telly. I didn't know what that was. I had to look it up.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, gang, but I think what the Troublemaker telly actually mostly is I think it's a telly. I think it's got like two humbuckers and like doesn't have a pick guard. It's laid out kind of like a Les Paul, and it's got a 70s Strat style headstock.
Okay.
All right. So easy enough, right? He said he wants a different headstock. He wants his own his own custom headstock that he designed. All right, cool, no problem. That's not a big deal. Then he said, and he also wants one of the Martin style diamond volutes. That's where I had to put the brakes on a little bit there. I'm like, well, if you just wanted a fender neck and you wanted a headstock that's shaped like you want it to be shaped, but it's very traditional construction, very, very easy to do. Mm-hmm. Strat or tele heel, very, very easy to do. Angled headstock, not outside the realm of possibility, but pretty easy to do. Okay. And I told him you would need to, at the very least, have an angled headstock to do that. Okay. Again, not outside the realm of possibility, but we're getting into the kind of like you're the further you get away from fender construction, the less easy it's going to get. Now, adding that diamond head volute style, depending on what the level of authenticity that you want is, now you really got something tricky. Okay. For me, for our shop, because we don't make those. So, okay. So we know it's going to need to be angled. Now, what you guys might not know is that particular volute originally was shaped like that. It's not just a volute, it's actually a scarf joint. And Martin doesn't really do it anymore. I'm sure they may have something that they have it, but I think theirs are now just one piece necks with that diamond part on it. It's not part of a glue joint that has that diamond on it. The guys who have really cornered the market on that neck, that headstock scarf joint with the diamond volute, are the guys at Frank Brothers. Cool guys. Nobody does it better than them.
And they're all jigged up to do it.
They're all jigged up to do it.
And their jig is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
And so that's what they use on all their necks. So I said, I'm not going to say I can't do it, but I don't think that for one neck, I can't create, the jig that Frank Brothers had, because that goes on every single neck that they make now.
Yeah.
I can't jig up to do that for one neck and have it be cost effective. So you would have to pay me to make a one-off handmade neck. And guys, let me tell you, a one-off handmade neck with the specs that you want and that diamond head volute to someone who doesn't do it regularly is going to cost you some bucks. And so what I said was, I'm probably not the right guy for this job. Because I'm not. It'd be a several $1,000s neck, and frankly, no one wants to spend a several $1,000s on a Telecaster neck. I don't think.
Right.
That up to this point is just kind of standard construction. You know what I mean? It's not made out of like meteorite or gold or anything. So I said the guys at Frank Brothers have literally cornered the market. That's literally. The guys at Frank Brothers have absolutely cornered the market on this, and nobody does it better than them. So he sent me an email back. Cool. Do you think they would make me a neck? And I said, well, I'm not going to say yes or no, but what I will say is you would have to be very, very persuasive to get them to just make you a neck. I think. And that was the other thing I said. I'm like, if I had to guess, and it would be a guess, I think you'd have to be super persuasive or have a lot of money, at which point just buy the guitar from Frank Brothers. That's an example of your custom guitar design idea is too custom for me to do.
Uh-huh.
So what does that make you think of when I say stuff like that, Chris? I mean, is it too custom?
I think sometimes people want something different just to be different.
It could be.
Without thinking of the repercussions of all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every little thing that you changes something else down the road.
Well, and you might think changing the headstock, well, that's a big deal, right? No, that's not a big deal. Changing the inlay, that's a big deal. No, not really.
No.
So if everything is not a big deal, but why is it a big deal to add a diamond head volute on?
We could cut out a little diamond thing and make it fit and glue it on.
And that's not, that's
not what he wants. Yeah.
So now we could absolutely make him a guitar with a Fender heads or Fender style neck construction with an angled headstock, and because I would be making it, it would have a volute on it because almost everything I make has
sort
a
of
volute
shape
on
that in a different sort of way. The funny thing about that, at least to me, is making a fairly traditional guitar with a completely unique neck.
Mm-hmm.
Probably ought to go outside the box and change up everything else about the guitar and make something truly unique.
Yeah.
Not a Telecaster with a weird neck.
Yeah. Let's see. Vinny's World says 10 switches. Okay. Sometimes. Okay. And Mike Sleva says that frankly, 3 micro switches is over the line. I think that some of those switching with passive pickups, and no active tone shaping, just standard stuff that they had in the 50s. You're just adding a bunch of switches and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's too custom, but that's something that I'm like, what does all this stuff do?
I feel the same way. My favorite part of all of that stuff is it's never labeled. So you don't actually know what it does.
Those BC Riches come to mind immediately.
Yes.
What is all that stuff on that?
Yeah, that or like that Marauder that we made.
Mm-hmm.
None of it's labeled.
Now, the Marauder had a rhythm circuit.
Yeah.
Okay, so at least there were some other guitars with that thing.
Yeah.
So
it had some other stuff in that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did?
Yeah, and then it also had a bunch of sliders and not micro switches, but 3-way. What do they call those? Rockers. There were a bunch. The original one was a bunch of rockers, but
ostensibly those
labeled.
are micro switches.
Yeah, nothing's labeled, so you don't know. And then if you do learn what it does, you could forget that at any time. If you stop playing the guitar for a year or 2 years, you might be like, "Oh, I don't know what all this does." I mean, that's one of the big complaints about Jazzmasters and Jags is that rhythm circuit isn't labeled. Nobody knows how it works. And that's fairly simple.
And those BC Riches are the same way. The main complaint is, what's all this stuff?
Yeah, what's all this stuff do? Where's the labels on this? You know? And
if you need
how much more simple could this be? This is phase. This is this is.
There's only so many things it could be, right?
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, yeah. So, so you sit there and flip switches till you find something, and then exponential, combinations, and pretty soon you're like, I don't know where I am on this guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you just stop. You turn all that shit off and go back to 2 pickups with a 3-way switch, a volume and a tone.
And frankly, for me, volume and tone is almost too much. Like when I was playing bass a lot, I actually did roll back the tone because I play with a pick.
Right.
So I would roll back the tone a little bit.
Yeah.
And if somebody else played my bass and they cranked it all the way up, I'm like, geez, now I gotta figure out which one of these is the tone control. And,
I think bass is slightly different in a lot of that.
Generally,
I mean, if you get a good sound that you like, that sound usually works for just about everything that you're doing.
I think generally speaking, for me, the way that I play bass or guitar,
me too.
Is just crank everything up and I don't
find a tone that you like and stick with it.
Yeah.
I'm not the highlight of the band when I'm playing bass.
Yeah.
I'm not the highlight of the band when I'm playing guitar. So
Chuck Birdsong says that he finally made it to a live stream. Chuck, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for coming.
We've been wondering what Chuck Birdsong's deal was. Why he hadn't made it to a live stream.
Kevzilla is not talking to Chuck Birdsong when he says it would be better if you went anywhere else. It's just kind of have the coincidence of where his comment. I think he was talking about my not wanting to do a diamond style volute for that guy.
Oh, yeah.
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 I'm like,
Without saying it, that's kind of what you meant.
Well, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people who specialize in that, and frankly, you don't go to your podiatrist for LASIK surgery,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
yeah.
Okay. Vinny says 10 switches is just right, but 11, that's too far. Lefty says Troublemaker has a pick guard set up like a Les Paul. Yeah. Tazzy Tim is here. Hi, Tim, and thanks for the super chat, man. He says, "G'day, lads. Quick hello. Lots of work to do cheers." I think there's supposed to be a space there, but I read it douchers. So lots of work to do douchers. Like, I don't think Tazzy Tim would say that, but yeah.
Sound like it.
Okay. Let's see what okay. Vinny's World is getting jiggy with it. Don says, aren't you guys the ones who made the hater maker? Anything too custom for you guys to make would have to be really, really insane.
The funny thing about that, yeah. The hater maker was all 100% within our wheelhouse, except for a few things that we hadn't done before.
There were a couple things we wanted to challenge ourselves with.
Yeah. But that guitar was fairly straightforward, other than there were lots of parts. There were 3 necks. And
adding another neck and a switch to switch between necks was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, but like everybody thought the wiring must have just been crazy. It was Les Paul hard. It wasn't difficult at all. There might have been a few extra pieces that a Les Paul doesn't have, but it wasn't hard. But thanks for the compliment.
We have another really good customer, Karen, who moved from the Denver area to Nashville, and her friend JD is also a great guy. You can see his he is on our website as one of the featured artists. He has Challenger guitars and he loves them just like everybody who has a Challenger guitar. But we're building her a lap steel. Now, when JD and Karen came in, they're like, "This is going to be easy for you guys to." Well, yes and no, because we've not made any lap steels before. Now,
correct.
It's more. I don't want to marginalize what a lap steel is, and I'm not going to do that. But I could attach a bridge to a board and make a lap steel pretty easily. But I told them, we're not going to let any guitar out of the shop until until we think it's as good as it can be.
Yeah. Well, and the one that they brought in as the example has just enough stuff different from a regular guitar that we kind of want to do that.
Yeah.
As far as string spacing and stuff like that. And they talked about how it would be fine if it had a regular guitar width nut or close to that, but a regular guitar bridge and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't know.
So and I feel the same way.
Yeah.
So if you have things that are not quite standard, it means that you have to source them somewhere unless they don't exist, and then you have to make them.
Correct.
And that's easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah. And so, we've been working on it, but other stuff has sort of gotten in the way.
But we're like Ernest and Julio Gallo. We'll sell no wine before it's time,
right? Sell no lap steel before it's time.
Well, I know that you and I don't want to let a bunch of stuff out of the shop that's not up to date.
No, and we've talked about lap steels in the past, and the ones that I think are cool, and I think the ones that you think are cool aren't just guitars with no radius. So, yeah.
All right. Jim Murray says opinion paralysis. Yeah, I think that sometimes you can add too much stuff for the sake of I can add that much stuff.
Yeah.
So it sort of becomes that like turkey club with roasted chicken and tuna salad and egg salad. I mean, you can make a sandwich with every single thing that they have at the deli. Doesn't mean it's going to be good. It's just going to have everything on it. So
I think there can be so many features that all the features get lost.
Yeah,
and it's just this thing.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the comment section. Jay wants to know how his neck through is coming, Matt. Jay, your neck through is coming along swimmingly, as a matter of fact.
It is. It's like an everything bagel.
Jay's SG?
No.
Okay.
When it's custom to custom. What's the overwhelming flavor of an everything bagel?
Yeah, everything.
Onion.
Oh, and you know what? Joy's right. It's not Karen. It's Kathy. I'm sorry. It is Kathy. I had a brain freeze there.
It's Karen, but I didn't want to call you out on it.
I think that Jay is going to be so excited to see this neck through that, because there's a bunch of stuff on it that he doesn't know he's getting. There's a bunch of really, really cool stuff that he doesn't know he's going to get.
Okay.
Like extra cool stuff. So
like candy?
There's going to be candy in the case.
Candy on the guitar, stuck to it.
Let's see. Butch asks, what are your thoughts on a blend control instead of a tone control? Learned about this while looking into Fender broadcaster design history. Can you take this one? Blend.
Sure.
Control? Let's start with what it does. And first of all, is it too custom? Second of all, what is it and what does it do?
So a blend knob blends one pickup into the other one. So instead of having to use a switch or something like that, you can blend the other pickup into it.
Now, is that what we did on John Mandrell's?
Yes, it's very
SG?
similar to that. Yeah, he didn't have a toggle switch. He had 2 volume knobs for each pickup and then a master tone.
So that wasn't a blend control necessarily.
No, it wasn't a blend control, but it was close. Yeah.
Did you guys just use essentially like the jazz bass?
More or less.
Wiring?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he kind of came up with the wiring. So
okay.
But
how is a blend control different than 2 volumes? Like, what does it accomplish at 2
Well,
volumes?
I think it's actually very similar. I could be wrong. Depends on the diagram, I guess. But
what if you had like 3 pickups? Would the middle one maybe have like a blend control? You can add it, but it doesn't have a switch to go to that one, or
yeah. So I think a blend control, instead of 2 volumes, each pickup is on its own volume. I think a blend, you have a master volume and a blend.
Okay.
So you could blend and then turn down the volume, and it wouldn't actually change the blend.
We've got
Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Okay. Well,
we've got that 3 pickup SG over there.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know how I'm going to wire it, I'm not going to wire it. I'm going to go, Chris, can you wire it?
I forget how we did that before. We've done several of those. I think my favorite way to do it is to make it just like a regular bridge neck 3-way switch, volume, tone, and then you have a 3rd volume knob that brings that volume pickup in.
We could get one of those kooky switches that has like 6 things.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be a thing, right?
Yeah, we could do that.
That might be
I really like the idea that the guitar works like a regular guitar, but then it also has this other thing.
Well, yeah, because even if you have a tricky switch, if you've got 4 holes for volumes and tones, what do they do?
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's the way to do it, or even just a on-off toggle, pull switch, whatever it takes to turn that middle pickup on, or an external smoke signal.
Ooh, yeah, the Ace Frehley
doesn't actually do anything.
No sound
comes out of it, but yeah, lots and lots of smoke.
Honey Tap says, greetings from Florida. That's cool. Hi, Honey Tap. I don't think I've seen you here before. I'm glad you are here now. Kevzilla says, I cannot truthfully say to get through the 13 switching on my Les Paul Modern every time I pick it up. That's got to be tricky.
The problem with all of that stuff, too, is you feel the need to use a bunch of stuff that you may never actually use.
Mm-hmm.
At least I would.
Well, here, Honey Tap has a great one here. What do you think of not using a tone pot? Okay, if you don't like using tone pots, you and I can be friends, because I never use a tone. Like, I'm not a sophisticated guitar player who like can benefit from like tiny little differences in tone.
One of my favorite things is an Esquire. So 1 pickup, 1 switch, no tone at all, straight to the output, volume straight to the output. Another one, preset tone knob adjustment. So there's another sound.
Okay.
You could probably get some sort of, darker rhythm sound, and then some sort of third switch. I think that's a really cool way to go. And
that sounds cool.
Then on that lead position with no tone, that you're getting all of the rock.
Yeah, I
100% rock.
I don't want to put a chokehold on my
no,
because
no, it's not a tone. You're never adding tone with the tone knob. No. You're only taking it away.
Ask anyone who was here last Friday when we had that Marshall through a 412 cranked all the way up, just everything that had one setting, everything to the right. Nobody was like, "Oh, hold on, got to adjust my tone control." Yeah, it was like just let that dog hunt.
So. Yeah, play around whatever you don't like.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some people that I think like tone knobs, and there's other people that don't need them.
Aaron Claflin loves it, and he's Aaron Claflin, so he can do whatever.
Yeah.
Don says, how many guitars would it take to justify a tool up for a radically different guitar? I don't think many would understand what that really looks like. Don, great question.
Don who?
Don
Magic Wand?
Kakura.
Okay.
Don, thank you for that question. I don't even, okay, here's what I can tell you.
Depend on the radically different.
I can tell you this much. Using the exact same construction methods that I have used on other guitars before, it has taken several months just to produce, they're not even done yet, the 4 Hustler models. There was a bunch of drawings, a bunch of like figuring out, does joining the guitar body to the neck at this point have any weird issues? Like, for example, this has happened to us before, does the neck pickup ring go into the
cutaway,
this part here? Like this is like, yeah, we've had that happen before. It fell into the cutaway.
You're like, oh shit.
Yeah, we didn't think of that.
Yeah. Oh, shouldn't have put the German carve there.
I mean, so that's and all the Hustler guitars, there's a bunch of stuff that's like new cool features. Like there's one with 5-ply, there's actually 2 with 5-ply binding. But the neck and the headstock angle. Okay, let's say you just wanted to change the headstock angle from 7 degrees to 8 degrees. Well, I would need to jig up all of my stuff to be completely different. Everything would have to be different. It wouldn't just be the angle of the headstock. I'd have to make up a special plate for that. I'd have to make a special sign plate for that, which wouldn't be impossible, but I have to do it. And everything else would change too. So it is possible that the neck thickness would have to go from 1.5 inches of actual neck meat when I'm building necks to 1 and 9/16 or 1 and 9/16 or 1 and 5/8. At which point my radius sander is now something different. So yeah, you would have to, if you wanted me to make, and it would be easy for me to make one, it would be a very different thing for me to make. So if Chicago Music Exchange called and said, we want to buy a bunch of guitars, but we want 14-degree headstocks. All of a sudden, that's a real thing that becomes exponentially difficult. How many guitars, and they all have to be the same. How many guitars are you guys willing to buy for us to make this worthwhile for us? Having to alter that one thing, headstock angle, which is a big deal. It's a big deal, but it doesn't sound like a big deal, and if you said, I want to have 25 guitars made and they all have to have that Martin diamond volute, we would have to jig up to make that. It would cost us, it would probably cost us so much. I'm not saying we wouldn't do it, but it would probably cost us so much that our price per unit, we would make quite a bit less per unit. To do that. Because we can't charge $20,000 per guitar to, you know what I mean? How would you, okay, let's say Chicago Music Exchange said, we're going to order 5 guitars,
Uh-huh.
and we're going to order 5 guitars every 6 months.
Okay.
They all got to have this Martin Diamond style volute. And I rushed in face first and said, "You got it."
Yeah.
And then Chris shows up, and I go, "Hey, guess what, Chris? We have a deal with Chicago Music Exchange to make 5 guitars and 5 guitars every 6 months after that." What you would say, "Cool. What are they making?" And then I would tell you, you'd be like, "Wait a second."
Oh, yeah. I've looked. I looked at the Frank Brothers,
Mhm.
and that was the first time I'd ever seen that construction
Mhm.
and that technique on it, and I thought it was really cool. And then you informed me that that's kind of an old school Martin thing. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Because it's an actual.
Sort of get it.
It's a dovetail that
yeah.
It's
what do you call that? It's almost like a mortise and tenon, kind of a thing, and it slides over and it clamps and it glues and it.
So there's a veneer on the headstock, and then there's a triangle wedge or
Right.
dovetail cut in, but it's at an angle, so it really is a dovetail. So then the
Okay.
piece that slides into that has to fit exactly perfectly right.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's that it can't be done, and that there are guys who do it one-off kind of things, but like I said, nobody does it better than the guys at
do
Frank
it over
Brothers.
and over again.
Yeah.
In with relative ease.
Yeah.
Is another thing.
There are guys who do it as good as Frank Brothers. Nobody does it better than them.
Sure.
So okay. Bass Martin says, I want to refret my nylon string guitar. I put the fretboard flat. Fretboards kill my left hand. Okay, now, all right, yeah, man. That's a lot of work. That's a pretty heavy duty undertaking. But you can do it, yeah. Okay, let's see. Honey Tap says, big fan, stoked to catch the stream. I'm a big fan that you're here. I have a goal to come build a guitar with you guys someday. I hope it's sooner rather than later, my friend.
Classes are so fun.
Classes are cool, and we want to have more people come to those.
You know why I like them?
Why?
Because I get to yell at people for a week.
All day.
That's not
That's
true.
not exactly what. Okay, Dan Andreas is saying, yeah, do it. There's so many people here who would tell you why you should do it. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Dylan Talks Tone sent us a super chat. Actually, he sent us a couple. He says people have been asking for pickups with 195 magnets instead of 187. It's a huge undertaking that changes everything. Yeah, you would think, what's the big deal? Just put 195s in there instead of 1.8. I don't know what the deal is, but
and Dylan manufactures a lot of his own burp. It was pleasant. A lot of his own flatware, but even then, it's still an undertaking.
Yeah.
Not to mention you have to get the magnets and everything else. And I don't know what kind of pickups they're asking for, but yeah, it's a whole thing. And if he wants to offer that, then he can ramp up and do it. But for a few one-offs, that's kind of a thing.
It's just like the magnetic power is different. Or I was listening to something today that, like, as the magnet moves a millimeter away from the thing that it's acting on, you lose magnetism by a square root. And if you move it 2 millimeters, it's double that or quadruple that. And Dylan could probably talk to that more. So yeah, changing a magnet is probably a big deal. That is not, you just do it flip, like,
Yeah. Well,
Dylan also says in super chat form, thank you, Dylan, that building the lap steel pickup for Kathy took hours of figuring, and it was based on an existing design. Because the poles were like slightly off, and Dylan has a bunch of sophisticated machinery that can make that, but he's still got to design it.
Millimeter pole spacing from outside to outside on the E's. I think he did it 56.
And frankly, I'm amazed he didn't tell us to piss up a rope when
56,
I said
52, 56, 54, 56, 58.
So, and I just called him and I'm like, hey, can this be done? Fully expecting to hear, no, I'm not doing that.
You want to know what the funniest thing of that whole deal is?
I do.
Sent it. I look at it and I'm like, that just looks like a pickup.
Yeah. It looks. So we have that.
We do. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it's like, I guess it is. It's a little wide. It's a little wider.
Sean Emenheiser is here. Hi, Sean. Tazzy Tim sent us a super chat and says, working on my deadhead sander. Tazzy Tim, you and I are cut from the same cloth. Thinking of using a horizontal belt sander and adding a block to the top to suit neck length. I am thinking of keeping it upright on the horizontal. Thought. So that would be like our oh, okay. Yeah. So I have seen a couple of guys have made.
Is he talking this way?
Either way, I've seen guys do it like that. And I think it would work fine either way. Jonas Guitars did he used a Grizzly sander like we use for radiusing, and he basically built a block that looks almost exactly like ours and plopped it on there, and gravity helped it go, and it was great. And I don't see why using hold on, let me make sure, using a horizontal belt sander and adding a block to the top. Yeah, so he's
so he's doing the same thing.
Tim, I want you to go check out Jonas Guitars. And Jonas, look up YouTube search for Deadhead Sander, Jonas Guitars, and his will pop up. He did a great job doing it. And
in some ways it might be
easier to do.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, certainly to make it work. So the reason we did ours was because we had that sander, I think.
Yeah.
And sometimes, back in the old days, Matt and Chris would get bored. No, I think we saw one.
That's not true. We get bored in the nowadays.
Well, yeah. I think we saw one and thought, oh, well, that sander's not really doing anything right now. Because I think we pretty much stopped using it. We were just using it as a regular belt sander, but we have several others.
Yep.
And so then that idea came up. And,
yep.
Okay, yeah, let's try it and see if we can do it. And there was lots and lots of consternation on how big to make that block.
And that thing has gone through a couple of iterations. It's working like $100 million now.
It is right now. Yeah, we got the motor rebuilt, and so now it runs nice and cool and fast and strong.
Let me ask you this. After I thank Jay Valenti for his $20 beer fund. Thank you so much, Jay. That's very kind of you. And you know what? There's 74 people watching right now, guys. If I haven't said your name,
that's a few people.
There's a lot of people hanging out with us. I love that everyone's here. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us and being part of this community. If something happened to our current neck sanding unit, which it's not a true deadhead sander.
No.
If something happened to that, I would want another one like immediately.
Yeah, we'd probably buy another one of those Grizzly things and modify it into something else.
Yeah.
Okay. In some ways, I think Grizzly is one of the only places you can get a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, probably.
That's not so specific that you can't modify it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You could spend thousands and thousands on a thing.
Yeah, or you can buy, like really expensive this and that, but you can't just buy a sander.
Yeah, Grizzly has a good they're a good company, and I can't recommend them enough. We've got lots and lots of Grizzly tools.
Maybe we could figure out a way to make the shaper into something even more dangerous.
The shaper needs to be repurposed. It's not doing or sold.
We repurposed it into basically just a very powerful router table, but it's sort of in the corner, and the other router table does the same thing. So if we were doing more production kind of stuff, we'd probably use it more.
Yeah, it's going to have to. I mean, we could put any router bit we wanted.
Right now, it's a really, really, really nice table
with a bunch of really cheap junk stacked on top of it. Yeah, maybe. Okay, but I don't want to move it out of the center of the shop, so I'm forced to use it. But
no, if we made more neck throughs, we could plop it in the middle of the shop.
You're right. Okay, you were talking about more tools would be, or different tools would be in the center of the shop.
In the center of the room, so you could spin that god awful monster thing around. Yeah.
No, that would be a great unit for that.
And we'd probably have another table on it so that
extension table,
so that up higher, and then you wouldn't have to worry about the neck hitting the outside perimeter parameter, yeah, it would be a whole thing. So let's just save that tool for
more
neck
through
shop.
Tim says, yeah, they've seen the YouTube videos, including TTG. We'll let you know. Yeah, please do, Tim. I think we broke some new ground when we made our neck shaping sander. Again, it's not a true deadhead sander.
Yeah. The funny thing is that it works.
It works great. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we sort of knew it was going to work based on other things that we'd made that tool do.
Yeah.
But it worked really well right out of the gate. We've modified it. We've
almost immediately
a little bit, I think. But yeah, it actually worked really well the first time we did. And the whole deal was, as soon as we figured out you could buy belts in 1/4-inch increments, then it was like, oh well, shit.
I don't know that you can do that still.
Not as easily,
because A&H Abrasives, who we used to use, they don't do it anymore. They sold that division or something.
Yeah, so. But I think you still can.
Klingspor has been able to get us exactly what we needed. So.
But anyway,
yeah, and that thing runs like a monster now. And man, I tell you what, if you've ever shaped a neck by hand, and I'm sure you have, Tim, and now you've got this, our deadhead sander has 36 grit belts on it. It's like with mahogany, it's like it just makes necks. You got to do stuff, but I mean, like, I feel like I have a little bit more understanding of like what the old school guys had to have been doing when they used tools like that.
I think Doc was talking about how he's been using just a regular like oscillating belt.
I don't see why that wouldn't work.
Yeah, a lot finer grit. And he's like, it takes a lot longer, but it still works. And I'm like, yeah, I think so. And I bet you could modify one of those into something else too. So or one of those really ratty looking. What's the belt sander? It runs flat this way. You can also rotate it. Anyway, there's a bunch.
Oh, I know you. Yeah.
That one's terrifying, but you could slow it down and make it work.
Jay says it's cool that if you search deadhead sander, Matt's video is part of the Google return. Yeah, I think that there wasn't a lot. There was a handful of pictures. There was a couple videos, and I'm like, well, I mean, there
were some way too thought out,
wildly aggressive, super
long belts.
Yeah, like if it's industrial, it has to be 10 feet long. I'm like, I don't think that's
you don't want the belt to overheat or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. Way too much tool for what you're doing. Ideas.
Well, a lot of people mistake large size for heavy duty.
Yeah.
Now, I submit to you that a scalpel is a very small knife that is made for a heavy duty job. Your deadhead, your neck shaping sander does not need to be a 10-foot long triangle with 2 grit sandpaper. And the guy who did that was Bruce Bennett, and he he used to work at Warrior, and he made one there, and he worked at Gibson, and I think he made one there.
They were huge.
And they were gigantic, and
terrifying.
His whole thing was like, ha ha ha. When you get some newbie up there, they ruin stuff real fast. Okay, I get it, but I don't think that's sort of like giving a 6-year-old a 12 gauge and saying, all right, go out there and ha ha, you broke your clavicle. So yeah, I didn't think that was very cool. Tazzy Tim sent us a super chat and says, TTG rocks. Thanks, mates. Thank you, Tim. Mike says that the deadhead sander was the star for him in the SG workshop. Multi Revelator says, consider viewing angles if working with the horizontal belt. Yeah, you might see more.
Yeah. The funny thing about ours is, and everybody does it, everybody has a rotation direction that they do better than the other. You flip it over, and it's so. There
have been 2 guys who've been able to step up to the deadhead sander and use it without use it the first time. And everybody else, including me, it takes some practice to get good at.
It does. It's one of those things where you have to be, it's the ultimate listen to the tool,
Yeah.
because you can barely touch the wood
And look here while you're also looking here.
Yeah. But continue doing what you're doing here while looking here.
Yeah. Mark summed it up. He says, great, works great, still scary to use. And that's true.
It is a little bit, but you can also knock off a bunch of material. You don't have to take it down to the final thing.
No.
You just remove some material and then go at it with your hand tools.
Yep.
And use it that way. And that works really, really well too. So
Butch says, do you use the deadhead sander in the neck only class? As a matter of fact, Butch, we don't. That is a hand. That workshop, Butch, is at the very least the first part of that workshop, and I think the second one too, is all stuff you can get at Home Depot.
Mm-hmm.
You could go to Home Depot with less than $500, maybe less than $500, and buy every single tool that we use in the essential neck building workshop.
Fair amount less than $500.
You need a router.
Yeah.
But
pretty crappy router.
Yeah, you don't have to. Gosh, I still have that craptastic Ryobi router that still works great. And I've had it for years. Now, it hasn't been used very much in the last decade, but but it still runs great. It works terrific. Lefty O says spoke shave only. As a matter of fact, I do not like, Chris, I don't want to speak for you. I do not like spoke shaves.
I haven't used one enough to hate it to the extent that you hate it, but I could see where a spoke shave would just dig big giant holes in the middle of the neck. Do you like sharpening tools? Oh, I love sharpening.
Then maybe spoke shaves are for you. I hate it, so I don't. Yeah. So, Daryl says it's a great guitar building discussion. Thank you, Daryl. I think this is a great one.
We've done videos. We've done some class videos on old school neck shaping techniques. And I think you and I each made a neck in 30 minutes or something like that. It was down and dirty, and I don't know that I'd want to play that neck, but
without a little more work done. Yeah.
But they were mostly necks.
So do you think we covered the topic of what's too custom when custom becomes too?
I think we did an okay job at that. Yeah.
I think everyone gets the idea. Sometimes little things aren't big deals. Sometimes they're huge deals. And
I think every shop has its processes, and as soon as you make them step outside that process, you're going to get something wonky, or they need to charge you a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
For them to update their process, not update, but come up with a new process.
You know what? That's a great point.
You watch a Gibson video on how they make guitars. You watch a Fender video on how they make guitars. Completely different approaches to the same job.
Yeah. And if you've been to our shop, and maybe as part of that, you've toured Steve's workshop, you might look at Steve's workshop and go, wow, Steve has more invested in his CNC machine than I do in my house. A lot of you guys could say that, including me. It doesn't mean that Steve's neck process is exactly the same as ours, or that Steve could go, oh, I'm going to make just on a whim, do a Martin style diamond head volute. Steve could figure it out. You and I could figure it out. Is it worth it for us to do that?
Yeah. So not on a one-off situation.
Yeah. Van Shank Guitar says, great discussion. Thanks, Matt and Chris. Dan says, thanks, guys. See you tomorrow. I guess Dan's letting us know there will be a reveal tomorrow, so that's good by me. Guys, our time is up. We need to go, and we would encourage you to go over to Dylan Talks Tone and hang out with Dylan and his lovely wife, Leslie, who, by the way, at the very least, I think they will both be out here in June. And for Chris's mystery class, let's talk a little bit more about Chris's mystery class tomorrow. You're going to have to get your mystery stuff down. So thanks for hanging out with us, you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Go over to Dylan's and tell them the guys at Texas Toast sent you. Have a great night, everybody, and stay safe. Come on, end.